All right, what's up? Um, we've got 30 minutes here before attack phase begins, and I wanted to just kind of go over some of the placements. We're only halfway through the first season of this new map with the new defensive tactic that we've been using every war and that we've faced almost every war. So I'm pretty sure that it's kind of the new meta tactic, which a lot of us did predict, but. Um, I wanted to touch on some of the placements that I run in BG3. Now this stuff changes literally every single war. Um, there are maybe a couple defenders that we leave on the same node every single war. But for the most part, we're trying new things because again, it's the first season. We're trying to see if we can find a placement that's way more problematic than maybe I would have thought it would be. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to kind of walk you through the map and talk to you about why we put certain defenders where we do, and yeah, that's what we're going to do. So there's not really any order for me. I guess we can start up at the boss node. Um, so almost every war up until this point, we've been running Doctor Doom on the boss node. So we all of our battle groups have rank 3 Doctor Dooms, and Doctor Doom is a very good defender, especially on the boss node with Stubborn. With his block penetration and stuff, he's just a huge pain. Now, with Doctor Doom on the boss node, you can still use Ghost. She's just not going to do any damage on her medium attacks because her phasing will trigger Stubborn, and then the defender will be indestructible. So the playstyle with Ghost against Doctor Doom boss with Stubborn would just be to get to an L2, and then you'll have to take a blocked hit, and then bait a heavy, and when he's throwing the heavy, evade the heavy without dexing, which is fairly easy to do. It's just a spacing thing, and then you can throw the L2. And if you're using like power back boosts and stuff like that, as most Ghost players do, then you should shoot right back up to an L2, and you can just kind of repeat the process. So the other thing that's kind of an issue with Doctor Doom bosses is if you leave up, or if you place somebody on node 49, which is Hazard Shift, Incinerate, and Poison, if you place somebody there, alliances have figured out that you can just, if they're planning for a Doom boss, they can just leave node 49 up so that it's still linking the boss node, since there's no attack and health links anymore. So, like right now, for example, here are the incoming. So you could just leave this Hazard Shift link up and use Ghost with that link up. She can just phase through the Incinerate and Poison damage, converting those into Furies, which just ramps up her attack. So it makes it easier for Doctor Doom bosses with her. So when we have placed Doctor Doom on the boss node, we've been leaving node 49 completely empty so that people couldn't use that as an advantage against the boss. So people, have gotten pretty good at figuring things out. So last war, actually, we faced a champion boss, and instantly when we saw this boss, the opponent placed champion as boss in all 3 battle groups, and we were like, okay, wow, this is this is going to be like a vacation compared to the Doctor Dooms and the Thing bosses that we've been seeing. And it was way more complicated than we expected. So we got the solo in BG3 with Doctor Doom. I used a rank 3 Doctor Doom with Ideal Masteries, 5 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion, fully boosted, and my rank 3 Doctor Doom was up against only a 565 Sig 200 champion boss, and it took me 4 minutes and 42 seconds to solo. Almost 5 minutes to solo. But yeah, so we're going to try champion boss here. There is a very easy counter to this champion boss that all of us kind of overlooked. And we all thought, okay, we're all running Dr. Doom's on attack. He'll be perfect. And Dr. Doom it was a tricky fight, very tricky fight. So it's kind of a Dr. Doom trap. Hopefully we'll get our opponents this war. But elsewhere, we've got node 50, we've got this regeneration and vigorous assault. So anytime the defender is regenerating, they become fully unblockable. This kind of seems like an obvious placement, this Weapon X on here. But essentially, a player is going to have to use Quake here. And if they use Quake and they're good with Quake and they're able to, they're comfortable fighting him with Quake, then they're going to get a solo. What we're banking on is that none of these other fights they can actually use Quake for, right? So we're hoping that with the stubborn tactic and with the nodes that surround this node 50, that people will choose to bring different attackers other than Quake. And if they do, without Quake, this fight is going to be a problem for them. They're going to have to play perfectly, and they're going to have to be really good at, dash back intercepting and stuff like that. So, because he's going to be unblockable the entire fight, essentially. So, Mojo on node 53, it's Stunning Reflection, which is a hard counter to Quake. You can remove the Stunning Reflection by inflicting poison or incinerate. So, Human Torch is really good here. But I like to place Mojo here because even with Human Torch, Mojo can still degenerate you, and there's a huge RNG factor in any Mojo fight. It's not always gonna go perfectly. Even if you play the fight perfectly, you could get kind of screwed on his prompts and take degeneration damage. And of course, he's got a lot of health here, 500% his native health because of the mini island boss node. So that's, again, obviously there are counters to all of these fights. The top counter to this fight would probably be Human Torch. And then you could also use, Magic would do well here because theoretically if you can get him power locked, you shouldn't need to have to stun him. It would just kind of be like a boss fight node. So that's a good one. And then up here, this is Brute Force. So again, you can't use Quake here. Spider-Gwen is really annoying to fight if you don't have a way to prevent her evading, and that's why Quake is so great. She's also a stubborn defender, so that's kind of a mini counter to Ghost. Ghost is still very effective here. She cannot evade, while Ghost has an active or a precision passive buff. So when she's phasing and stuff like that. So Ghost would still do pretty well here, but Ghost is not really a good matchup for this champion boss. So again, hopefully somebody sees this Spider-Gwen and they think, hey, we can use Corvus here. She completely ignores his True Strike buff, which is great, and you can't Quake her. So, and then we've got, and then we've got node 49 here. This is the Hazard Shift, Incinerate, and Poison. And you're going to see a lot of like Vision Arcus here and stuff like that. Red Hulk has proven to be a really strong attack matchup for this node in general. Because, of course, he just gets stronger every time he's incinerated and poisoned. Because he's immune to poison and he's basically fully resistant to incinerate. He's not technically immune. He actually just gets stronger from incinerate. So he's really good. But on this node, it's just an extra annoying factor that you would have to deal with Hyperion's power. So, most people, when they see Hyperion now, especially with the Stubborn Global and that affecting attackers too, they're going to think, okay, Doctor Doom, let's just Doctor Doom this guy. You can't use Doctor Doom here because he'll get incinerated or poisoned. Omega Red you can use, but you'd have to play around the incinerate phase. During that period, Hyperion could get a lot of power. So the best counter to a Hyperion probably is going to be a Mephisto, who's he's immune to both incinerate and poison. But I don't think I've seen a Mephisto used on war attack, especially in high tier war, in a very, very long time. So, if somebody wants to bring Mephisto, then awesome. We just took away one of their attackers for the rest of the map. And then Iceman also would be a pretty good counter here, a good option. But again, Iceman's really fallen hard out of the meta. Not a lot of people bring him. It's just all we're trying to do with these placements is make it difficult for the other alliance's officers to plan. On Rage here, node 48, this is a good node for a lot of different defenders, and this is one of the nodes that we've kind of flip-flopped every single war, just trying new defenders. Hyperion, Annihilus, those, the Cosmics that buff a lot are really good here because of return policy. Dr. Doom, generally speaking, is good against Rage node because the Rage Furies that the defender gets are active. You can nullify those. So usually he's pretty good, but this one has return policy, which means it's basically a reverse Mystic Dispersion. So every time you nullify a buff on the defender, they gain power, which is pretty cool. So you can still use Doom here. We've had Hyperions here, and we've still used Doom, but it's just a little bit more tricky of a fight than a standard Doom fight. And then against Emma, if you're using Doom, you would have to be able to armor break her to do any damage, or to do much damage because of her diamond form. And in order to armor break, you would have to bring Mr. Fantastic as a synergy. So again, it's forcing the opponent to either use somebody that they don't really want to use, or forcing them into tough matchups, or making them bring a synergy attacker and waste a spot on their team, basically. So it's a lot of gamesmanship. We know every single war, and once the war ratings get kind of leveled out, then we know that most wars, each battle group, we might only get 3 to 5 deaths or defensive kills. So all we're trying to do is make it annoying for the defender, for the opponents. So Emma also is, Quake is not really a great matchup here. She's not going to do as much damage while Emma is in diamond form. And obviously, if she gets into telepath form, then she can't be evaded. So that would just be an annoying node to deal with. The best counter, in my opinion, to an Emma here would probably be Omega Red. You just have to slow play it, but you're going to do a lot less damage while she's in diamond form, so it's just tricky. Up here, we have a Spider-Man. It's got Hurt Locker, Power Focus 1, and Enhanced Special 1. So people still struggle to evade or to dex Spider-Man's SP1. This is absolutely a Corvus. This is a node where a lot of people can use Corvus if they want to. But we're banking on, look, if they want to use Corvus, that's totally fine. Go ahead and use Corvus on that node. But, you're not probably going to want to use Corvus against this Vision because he's going to start with 3 bars of power. And Corvus is probably not going to be a very good matchup for this champion boss. Although I'm sure rank 3 Corvus max boosted with a big cosmic special boost could take him out pretty quickly. So that's that. And then let's kind of go up here in the front. This is the Ebb and Flow knockdown path, and we've been placing Lags' rank 3 Hitmonkey here. He's a huge pain to deal with on this path. There are obviously counters, but Yeah, you basically just don't want to knock him down. So you're gonna do reduced damage, and if you do knock him down, then he'll go into I believe cunning phase. I'm not exactly sure on the terminology and stuff, but yeah, he's just annoying to deal with. And then obviously we've got Darkhawk, who's annoying to deal with also. You can still Quake Darkhawk if you want to, although he is stubborn, so it's going to get tricky if you get cornered and stuff, and you're not doing any damage with Quake. Medusa is really good against Darkhawk. You can just medium L1 and then shut him down completely. But not a lot of people bring Medusa, and Medusa is probably not a very good matchup for that Hit Monkey. So again, it's just we want to try to force people to bring multiple attackers just to clear section 1 or just to clear a couple fights. That's really annoying. When I'm planning attack, what I love to see is a path that can be cleared by one attacker. That's super easy. It's like, okay, cool. So here you have one attacker to clear these first 2 fights, and then in section 2, you can use a different attacker, and it just makes it easy. A lot of times we can bring in a third attacker just to use as backup or as synergy, which is great. That makes planning easier. So what I like to do is just make paths really annoying, and if they have 2 fights, make them bring 2 attackers. Or in some cases, if they don't want to bring 2 attackers, of course, they can use different attackers other than Medusa or Omega Red here. But then they'll be settling for less ideal matchups, which is what we want. That's how mistakes happen, and that's how we can steal maybe a defender kill. Now over here we've got Steady Build Up Fury and Running on Fumes. This is great for Void. You're going to see this often. So, whenever you have 3 or more debuffs, the defender gets a Fury passive, which just helps Void's debuff damage. And then, if you're close to the defender, then you're going to get a Fatigue debuff, which again, it just gives him more debuffs that he can damage you on. We see this placement basically every war, and we use Archangel very, very fast. Just make sure that you don't have suicides, and he usually plows through that. And then up here, you've also got Long Distance Relationship, and then you've got Steady Build Up Fury. So this is a fight that Archangel can take. You can definitely heavy counter Mordo with Archangel, but I've also seen it gone wrong. So there's that. And then Archangel is a good matchup for this Mole Man here. But people aren't super familiar with his abilities still, which is great. So it's just a decent node to put him on. And then here we've got Aggro Fury. This is good for basically people or champs that most alliances would use Quake for. You can absolutely Quake Aggression Fury, but if you make one mistake or even take a blocked hit, you're probably going to die. So the margin for error is extremely thin, which is what we want. So this is great because it's got Strike Back, or Magic is great here because it's got Strike Back, which just means if you use a special against her, she's just going to gain 1 bar of power, and with Limbo, that's great. And then also if she's building up her Furies, her attack is going to increase by 50% for each stack, which also affects Limbo damage. So Quake is definitely a decent option here, but it's incredibly risky. I would not send a Quake here on attack, and we have some of the best Quakers, I think, in the world in For Loki and in my battle group. I still would not send her because it's one mistake and you're going to die. All right, over here, this node has proven to be really nice for Sasquatch. So it's got Brute Force, so you can't Quake it. It's also got Power Focus 1 and Strike Counter Fury. So you can't Quake it, you need to throw specials, and he's going to shoot up to 1 bar of power frequently. Now, when he has the Wrath of Tanarak, his SP1 can stun you through the block, so you have to fully evade it. And we've been getting kills pretty consistently here. I know that a lot of people still don't have Sasquatch, which is totally fine. So this isn't going to be a placement that's going to work for everybody if you don't have him, obviously. But if you do have him, this has been really, really nice for us. And then this Night Thrasher here, I mean, this node is really good for Hyperion because it's got power struggle, but it's kind of a wasted spot. In fact, we could let's just move him. So this other path over here is the regen path. People are going to use like Quake is really good here. So this has Vigorous Assault. Anytime the defender is regening, which they do for right at the beginning of the fight, then they're going to be fully unblockable. Mystics are pretty good here because even though Void and Quake are good matchups at the start of the fight, they're going to be unblockable. A Stubborn Mystic is probably going to be the best placement on this node. Claire is not stubborn, so you can easily Quake this node, but you can't Quake Night Thrasher, so that's a good pairing. But if you do use like Void or Red Hulk or something like that with Mystic Dispersion, then this can kind of be an issue because when the fight starts, the defender is going to be fully unblockable. You kind of have to just stay away from them. And if you're doing that, then you might proc Dexterity, and then once you hit them, that'll trigger Mystic Dispersion, so the defender will get more power. So again, that's not a node that we ever expect to get a kill on. But we're just trying to make things annoying. And then, this Annihilus here, he's got big armor, so an armor breaker is going to be really nice here. And then he's also got Strike Counter Fury, so he will start to hit really hard if you're not throwing your specials. Quake is the best matchup here. If you just Quake parry style him, all of the debuffs that he inflicts on you are going to actually help you heal with willpower. Up here is Power Snack. Power Snack is basically Buffet, except instead of getting a regeneration buff, the defender is going to get a power gain, an instant power gain. So Dr. Doom is just annoying here. You can Quake this node parry style, but if you dex a couple times, he can shock you. He can also obviously gain power, so it's just a trickier fight. Korgon Mixmaster is very common placement, one of the few nodes that we've kind of been doing every war, and Omega Red is great there. And then Nick Fury here with Footloose and Kinetic Transference can be incredibly annoying. After he throws a special attack, he has a chance to evade and be unstoppable, so he can get you backed into a corner. He's stubborn, and then obviously in real Nick mode, he's stun immune too. So you can get in a tricky loop where you're stuck in the corner. He's indestructible, and with Kinetic Transference, he's gaining power, just beating in your block. So very tricky matchup. We've been using Corvus there, but we have a really skilled Corvus player with a rank 3 Corvus. So that matchup has been difficult for some people in our alliance. And then Ebony Maw is on Ebb and Flow Intercept here. I like Ebony Maw because this Killmonger Ebony Maw pairing here, you can definitely use Corvus for that Killmonger and just ignore the protection on the node. But you can't use Corvus against Ebony Maw. I would probably want to send a Quake to that Ebony Maw, but you can't Quake Killmonger. So just kind of, again, just trying to give people some stuff to deal with. And then Invisible Woman, obviously, if you don't play her invisibility correctly, she can be annoying. I would probably send an Archangel down that path. And then over here we have the steady build-up unblockable path. So basically, if the defender has, or if the attacker has 3 or more debuffs on them, then the defender is going to be unblockable until the attacker has 0 debuffs. So this is great to place people that you want to protect from Corvus, and that's why we've got this Captain America here. He is an Avenger, so he would be a free Corvus charge. Havoc also is, generally speaking, going to be a Corvus charge, but you don't want to use Corvus without Suicides, and you don't want to use Corvus on this path with Suicides because the defenders will be unblockable for the entire fight. And then Havoc's debuffs do count towards this node, So that's why people place him here. What I would do here is I would use Vision, OG Vision, for this Havoc. Enzo actually brought this to my attention. Basically when you power drain Havoc, all of your debuff, you don't have to worry about the plasma debuffs. And then for this Captain America, really you can use anybody here. You just don't want to have suicide. So, you know, you can use Nick Fury here. You can use Archangel here. And Nick Fury is also obviously a good matchup for Invisible Woman. And then over here we have Rage MODOK. So again, protecting him from Corvus. And then we have, he's also not a great matchup for Dr. Doom. And then over here we've got Vision Arcus. This is a rank 3 Vision Arcus. He's got Aggression Prowess, Power Focus 2. So he's going to throw that SP2, which nobody can evade. And it's going to start to do a lot of damage through your block if he's got Prowess charges on it. Okay, and then over here, pretty standard placements, but up here we want to protect these people from Corvus on Buffet. And then this one's also got Lionheart, so if you try to use like Void here, he'll actually gain health. And then, you know, Quake is going to be the answer to that fight, but he is stubborn, so it just brings in a little bit more complexity to that fight. And then this is a rank 3 Sentinel on Buffet. Again, I would probably send a Quake here, but you'd have to play Quake parry style because he's also stubborn. So that's that. And then over here, basically we've got Stunning Reflection, right? This is a good node for Thing because it's got Empowered Immunity. So Killmonger, Nick Fury, they're not going to be good answers there. And obviously you can't use Quake here. So Omega Red would probably be the best answer. But over here, not being able to stun Rhino, you could get unlucky and he could go unblockable, and he could pound you a little bit. So our time is up. That is it. I just wanted to give you guys some thoughts on our defensive placement strategy, at least in Battle Group 3. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys have any ideas for placements, and let me know obviously what you thought of my thinking here and my ideas too. So thanks for watching. I'm going to also try to do a video on my attack planning, and just basically record my assignment process so you guys can kind of see how I think when I'm doing attack assignments. So that's it. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.